Hi everyone. For those of you who watched the first part, you know that the video cut off at a certain point because it looked up like the camera overheated. So I'm going to continue pretty much from where I left off. Stay tuned. Thanks for tuning in for the first part and the second if you've seen the second one, as I review a video of a feminist speaking about male-female relations. And I consider this video very interesting, so stay tuned. Let's see what happens.
Objectively not very good looking, men that are short, men that actually bring little to the table other than being nice,
right?
And
but would you prefer a man that like
I would prefer I would 100% prefer a man that brought me more, offered me more, but it didn't stop me from dating other men. It didn't stop me,
right?
But then I think I'm the anomaly in that.
But I'm saying like you would still prefer the man that had more, just like the man would still prefer the woman that had less guys.
Yeah,
and I think like it just is.
The math is quite clear here, that men and women go for different things, and often as men we are held, not just accountable, but held guilty for having high standards manifested as us seeking women who haven't had plenty of sexual partners. The number is quite disputable, and there are different numbers that men go for. But in the same sense that men want women that haven't slept with many men, in the same sense we can say that women would want more successful, emotionally and socioeconomically stable men. So the scale goes both ways.
Like, it just is. I'm not saying, I mean, it's not like, like double standards just are.
I was going to say as well, do you not, I think the difference is there, and this goes back to like what you were saying earlier, what we've all said earlier, is I understand the notion of, you said, oh, but you should want someone who loves you for you. But we all acknowledged earlier that love is not unconditional. Like love is very, or if we say love, at least who we choose is definitely conditional. And some, like, you could meet a guy who you think, oh, he rocks my world intimacy wise, but if you want to start having a family and he's really not doing anything with his life, it's like you may really care about him, but you may not choose him over the next guy who can do that for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and then I think it also depends upon, like, I'm going to be real, it really depends upon your mental health, your well-being, your, like, so I settled for people who treat me like shit. And if someone from outside went, Amy, this is what this guy's doing to me, I'd be like, are you confused? Like, leave him, like, what the fuck? And yeah, like I fully agree with that. I fully agree that it's just not a simple yes or no, black or white.
So would you then go back, because love is conditional, would you go back on your statement that like the man shouldn't love you for you, like it's conditional based on the choices you make?
Yeah, like that's it. That makes sense.
So you would agree then to younger women, we should tell them that actions have consequences, and going on OnlyFans might not be the best action if you want a husband.
I think, well, that's the reality, is that it will have consequences, because it will. Some men won't care, some men will care,
right?
Of course, everything we do has consequences, and depending on the desired outcome that we want from our lives and our relationships, hopefully the relationship, then we should be very mindful of the decisions that we make with and in our lives in accordance with that desired outcome. And I love that she changed her mind in the end and actually agreed, in opposition to the beginning of the video when she said that she would just prefer to be loved unconditionally. And there is nothing wrong with that, but unconditional love is an ideal that has been so deeply engraved into the masses and into the people as this go-to and how love should be. But in romantic relationships, there is the transactional part of the relationship and there is the love part of the relationship, which is unconditional. But the very nature of duality implies that if you want to have a conditional aspect of the relationship, you need to have the opposites too. You cannot have one without the other.
Right. You have to be okay, and you have to be responsible to be like, I know that if I'm on OnlyFans, some men are going to be like, you're trash. Well, and as long as you're okay with that, then...
And especially the men you want. Just like women that are models, who do they tend to date?
Oh, hot
Rich
models.
men.
Yeah.
No,
Rich
like
men.
rich men.
Yeah.
Yeah, rich men. Men with the option. I mean, look, I'm not saying like all
Yeah,
guys.
but that's like the halo effect as well. Like if you are good looking, you are deemed to be more worthy
Well,
than
that's-
like a bad looking person. It's like
No,
a real,
it's more
like,
for women. Like men, it's more their accomplishments. Like us, we have a lot more value in our looks, which we enjoy the
Yeah.
benefits of.
But that's and this is such an anti like feminist thing. But I will sometimes
is.
I'm a feminist, but in this world, I'm like, if I can bat my eyelashes and do the whole little cute little, I'm like, no, I will fully milk being an attractive woman. I will do it. And people are like, but you're a feminist and you shouldn't do that. And I'm like,
And do you really want to be a feminist then? If you're a beautiful, gorgeous woman and you want to capitalize on your looks, you're not manipulative, you're not cunning, you just know you are aware of your innate and outward beauty that you can utilize to improve your quality of life and who knows, maybe even help someone, be of service to the world, then why would some feminism or any other ideology tell you that that is wrong? Because you should, as a woman, use your capacities. And if it is looks that us men primarily go for in women, then that is the reality of that, and that should absolutely be taken advantage of in the positive sense of the word, and not being held back by some ideology or some ideological beliefs and whatnot.
and you shouldn't do that. And I'm like, look, if I need to get ahead in any way I can, if I need to be better looking to come across as better, like, I'm gonna be real.
Well, it's
if I came here looking like trash, I think that I'd get a lot like more mean or harsh comments. Like I'm gonna be real.
And in addition to that, it's also, yes, she is right, but it's also her behavior and her being very unstable, so to say, within herself that is making, for example, me as the viewer not very convinced, if I can use that word, in what she is saying, because the two other people, the host Pearl and the guy, they're much more calm and composed because they're not emotional in the argument, and she is. And there's nothing wrong with being emotional. What is wrong is not contributing to the debate in the sense of elaborating and going deeper so that people can have facts and information.
And yeah, like no, I fully like.
Well, I think it's like so it's almost like feminism. They want equality when we almost only want it.
So gray.
No, I'm saying like we don't actually want equality. It's just.
And this is the bitter truth that people are still swallowing, but feminism is kind of trying to get away from acknowledging this, because if feminism advocated for equality, it would have been called equality. But since at this point we can really clearly tell that it's about female empowerment and raising women to higher positions of power, we can really see that feminism is not about equality. And this has been clear to us from the get-go, but the machine has been so powerful and the propaganda has been so powerful into convincing people that that wasn't the case. And that's why we have all the shit happening in the world that is happening now between the division of men and women, which I will of course discuss in a separate video, but a very, very good point by Pearl.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, because I think you're right. If you're going to call a spade, you as a woman, you're going to use the advantages you have of being a woman to get yourself ahead, right? That's what you just said.
I'd like to. Yeah.
So, yeah. Sorry. So then, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Can we then get annoyed at men who use the advantages that they have to get ahead?
Yeah, but that's it. It's not all like, it depends on the situation, the circumstance. I'm so frustrating in that I'm very much like every situation. You can't black or white.
I think it's just when you have to answer a question that goes against your belief system. That's your answer.
So because I did DBT, I'm non-judgmental and I'm very much you don't commit, you sit on the fence because nothing is black and white, nothing. And it makes life a lot more enjoyable to not be so committed to a certain belief or a certain way of thinking. I'm very open-minded. I'm very happy to be told. I'm very happy for someone to have a different opinion and to argue it. And I'm very much like, oh, do you know what? I've changed. So I used to be very anti-abortion. This is what really surprises people. I was very anti-abortion as a teenager.
Right.
And then I switched. And I was a massive prude. I was very judgmental on girls who were promiscuous or XYZ. And now I'm like the opposite. And I'm very open
it's not really like judgmental. I don't care what people do. Like I don't think who you sleep with says who you are as a person. Like I don't give it, like you want to do that, but I just what I don't like is acting like there's no consequences for it.
No, there is
and telling young girls there's no consequences because there are.
And that would literally be a blank face lie, because we know there are. Right. We know there are.
Right.
And in an ideal world, there wouldn't be, but you got to be a realist. You've got to be a realist and be like, there are consequences to certain men, and if those are the men that you're after, then you have to actually cater to what they want.
Right.
And
right.
So
So we agree.
Yes. If you desire a certain man, a certain quality in men, then you also need to possess certain qualities yourself that would make that compatible and symbiotic and functional and organic. It's not something you have to do. It's something that you either are or that you kind of works towards to build. But in an essence and in a deeper sense, you are unchangeable. You are simply who you are, and you will, if you end up with someone, you will end up with your match and with your mate. And if not, that is the reality. But it is important that if women, same goes for men, but if women want a high value man, that they have, the information is out there on what are the values that these men stand for and what they value in women and appreciate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in a realist way.
Yeah.
No,
Right.
like
Next question.
no.
This is where the video ended, and this is the end of the video. This is actually a clip taken from the full discussion, so I just did a review of this clip. I find the discussion very interesting because it touches upon many things. I expected much more arguments and much more in-depth analysis, but I hope to find more videos that explain this into detail, and I certainly will, because I have more content that I'm going to share. This is something that I believe both men and women should know and should be aware of, especially because we are losing touch with reality and we are disconnected from each other as men and women on so many levels and ways, and we are losing the nuclear family, which makes us more divisible and therefore easier to manipulate and control as individuals. And I'm not going to go very deep into the conspiratorial aspect of that, but this is how you manipulate a population. This is by dividing it. And us men and women, we're meant to work together. And for us to work together, we really have to see each other for who we are and see ourselves for who we are. And the cards have to be laid fully on the table, and we have to be transparent and open and not be ashamed to say what we want and what we don't want and who we are, for as long as we can take accountability and responsibility for our actions and their consequences. Thanks for watching the video. I will be making more. Stay tuned. And if you're watching this on YouTube, if you want to support me, like, share, subscribe, classic. Thank you for making it to the end. And see you in the next one. Bye.